Can you explain the health insurance requirements that are needed for a long stay visa application?
So, well, first, like Richard mentioned, although the visa centers, they aren't the prefecture, so they're not like a living body on their own, but it's important to understand that, that all of the visas will be subcontracted to a private contractor, which is, for example, the two main sources of expats are on the UK and the US in terms of numbers, So in the UK, that subcontractor is TLS, it's VFS in the US for now, because it can be renewed every 5 years or changed. But so the short answer is, well, it depends on where you come from. But in theory, the theoretical requirements is you need to have a policy that would cover a minimum amount of medical cares in France. So that minimum amount is 30,000. Although, depending on where you'd be applying for, they can apply different rules. Although, theoretically speaking, it's not something they should be doing. But in London, for example, I don't know. They probably think they're posher in London or whatever. But so the rule there is 100,000 instead of 30,000. So, and these aren't things that are disclosed. These are things that you might discover on the day during the interview. So at the visa center, and obviously it might be a case for rejection. So definitely worth to speak with someone that knows the drill. Otherwise, you might be up for an unpleasant surprise at least, and experience this definitely. So that's also a requirement. The top, by far and large, the top requirement that you should make sure you meet is that you should have a policy that do not have any kind of, so depending on the language, deductible, excess, copay, co-insurance, you name it, whatever the will. Basically, it's something we call in France, you should be insured from the first euro. That's, in France, the French policies usually have that wording, first euro or premier euro in French. That's basically something you should be looking for. It's very, very important. That's the top requirement. And obviously, there are also policies that would be automatically denied for long-term visas. For example, travel insurance, Schengen plans, hospitalization-only policies, and obviously policies with any kind of deductible excesses and all. So yeah, that's basically, the core requirement. You should also make sure you have a repatriation assistance thing on your policy, simply because, well, should the amount exceed, you are in a very critical situation, or it exceeds, or it's about to exceed the maximum coverage you're allowed for, or you want to be treated in your home country, because you're probably, for example, in the UK, you're probably still part of the NHS. So, you could be repatriated to the UK to be treated. So this is also an important part. Make sure you have repatriation on the policy. Public liability is not a mandatory requirement, although sometimes they do check for it. It depends on where you're coming from. For the UK and the US, usually you're fine without it. But again, well, it depends on the context. But that's basically core things you should take a good look at.
Okay, so it is quite specific, the needs for these policies.